start rolling.
All right, so I'm Chance, Titan Sports Academy.
He has launched one of the most phenomenal travel ball, and not just travel sports academies in the entire country.
Accountability, responsibility, attitude, effort, and integrity. Those are our 5 core principles and what we live by. So we hire by those, we fire by those. I think they said the wise man plants trees that he'll never stand in the shade of.
Welcome back to another episode of On the Subject. I'm your host, Michael Vilardo, co-founder and CEO of Subject.com, Subject.ai. You know where to find us. We are super excited about today's guest. This is our first live debate. You know, it'll be edited on the back end, but we're so excited. We have an incredibly special person. He has launched one of the most phenomenal travel ball, and not just travel sports academies in the entire country. We're in Kennesaw, Georgia today with the founder and CEO of Titan Sports Academy, Chance Beam. Thank you so much for the opportunity. We're so excited to have you on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you. It's an honor for you guys to be here. I enjoy your content. We debate online, and I think people will probably see we have a lot more in common than we think. We have our own version of it, and hey, that's what makes the world go round.
Completely agree. And what you've built here, you should be so proud of. And
thank you.
Obviously, I'm beyond impressed. I wish I played for this guy. The energy that he has when you walk in the room. If you have a young son or daughter, like, this is a place to be able to send your kids. The facility is top notch. Everything here is first class. And you have really a person who cares a lot about not only your professional development as a player, but also as a student, which I really appreciate. But before we dive into the meat of the episode, we want to really highlight everything you've accomplished in your career. It's so impressive what you've been able to do, and we want to really have an honest conversation. And so one thing we really want to start with is, what made you get into coaching? You know, you played Division II baseball. Sounds like you got your master's degree at University of Tennessee. I mean, you've really pursued a lot in your life. Tell us your story.
So it's interesting. When I came through college, I always in my mind wanted to be a coach. I was like, all right, I'll be a college baseball coach. So I get out of undergraduate. I coach at North Greenville Division II school. From there, I have an opportunity to go to University of Tennessee and get my master's degree. Randy Mazey, Simcox, Delmonico that was there. We had a great year. 2001, won the College World Series.
Wow, in Omaha?
Yeah, I went to Omaha. What an incredible year. Finished 3rd in the country. We had 13 guys get drafted off that team. So
was that Todd Helton? Or?
No, that was Chris Burke, Stevie Daniel, Wyatt Allen.
One of the loaded
it was
teams.
An incredible team.
Yeah.
Incredible team. And so, I was blessed to kind of like Forrest Gump, if you will. I just kind of fumbled into a lot of different really cool spots. And as I went through college baseball, I realized pretty quickly, like, these college coaches are starving. And I don't mean metaphorically, like physically, it's a tough line. Really, really tough. And so after that, like, my entire family was in the mortgage business. So I'm like, I've got a master's degree. I want a little bit more for myself. And I was like, all right, I'll move to Atlanta with my girlfriend at the time. Now it was my wife, and I'll get a job. And I did that. I was making great money. And I had a guy that his name was Miles Shota, and he was the agent for John Smoltz. So this is probably 2002. He knows me from Tennessee in the baseball world. And he's like, hey, I got this kids team over at East Cobb. Like, you want to come coach? And I literally vividly remember going, I don't want to coach kids baseball. Be careful. Never say never will I ever. Because
never and always.
Never always are bad things. So literally that was 2002, 2003. Fast forward 2026. I've been doing it for like 23 years, and it's literally taken on a life of its own.
That's incredible. And so you started within the East Cobb program. Those of you new listeners in your East Cobb is very consistently considered probably the #1 travel ball organization in the world. When I was playing travel ball, they definitely were. And so they were the East Cobb Titans. Can you talk to us a little bit about when it transitioned from East Cobb Titans to Titan Sports Academy, or what was that process like?
So it was scary, I can tell you that. So in 2003, like I said, we were part of East Cobb Titans. So from 2003 to 2013, I was part of the East Cobb brand, and I realized at 2009, I'd broken off from the mortgage business and was doing baseball full-time, and I own East Cobb Baseball Academy over there. And I realized, like, if I want to do this long term, I got to really kind of own something my own. And it wasn't, I carried the flag there for 10 years, loved my time there, but it was time for me to kind of move on. And so I had 9 teams when I was over at East Cobb. So we broke off from East Cobb 2013 and formed Titan Sports Academy with those first 9 teams. And now we're roughly at 30. And like I said, it's been, again, feel like kind of Forrest Gump. I've had all these things that have kind of happened, and I've had some incredible players and incredible people that have been around me that have kind of allowed us to make that happen. So it's been a great journey.
Yeah, we have a mutual connection if he's listening out there. Nate Mikolas, he was drafted 3rd round by the Yankees, played on the East Cobb Titans for Coach here. We played on the Reds Pro Scout team in the Midwest. Grew up about 25 minutes apart from each other. Great guy. And obviously, if there's details you can't go into, don't feel any pressure. But curious, like, how do you leave an organization? Were they upset with you? How were you able to take 9 teams with you? How did you, because this is great business advice too for any listeners out there, how do you navigate a situation like that?
So I think the scenario was, and looking back, my dad gave me advice, and he said, don't leave bitter. He's like, that's their choice if they want to be bitter, but you don't leave bitter. So around that time when we left, social media obviously wasn't what it was today.
No, not yet, yeah.
And so, but I knew that social media, and I had to get in front of this, and it had to be my voice, not. Yeah. And so I wrote an open letter to the board of directors. I did like online. You probably can find them still on YouTube.
Facebook? Oh, YouTube.
It was like
okay,
YouTube.
Great.
And it was like my first couple videos of just like, thank you so much for the opportunity. We're going to break off. And I think the reason why I was able to get the 9 teams to move over was because I was so involved with all of those teams individually. But I knew that if I left East Cobb, I had to have a facility. Certainly didn't have this place. And so I had found a spot, and it just so happened to be the right time, and that there was a spot that was available. It was roughly about 18,000 square feet. And I remember borrowing and stealing to try to get turf, and then we had this big wall mural. It's a little bit like this, but it was much bigger. I knew that I had to have that showstopper when you walked in, and it said, "We are Titans" on the back wall, and I can remember that time around it, like going, man, this has got to work. I hope this works. I hope this works. And I think it's to a testament of all the people out there, business owners, entrepreneurs, like there's certain times you've got to bet on yourself, and you've got to make an educated bet, and you've got to do everything that you can to mitigate the circumstances, but at the end of the day, you got to jump. And so I jumped, and thank goodness it worked out.
How many square feet is this facility?
So this facility is 16,000 square feet upstairs and downstairs. It's a lot more usable square footage.
It's huge.
So it's a 90 by 90 building, 8,100 square feet up and down. And then we have outdoor cages, 3 cages, which is about another 4,500 square feet. And then we obviously have our outdoor field.
It's beautiful. No, it's a great place to train. Tell us a little bit about some of the people that influence your coaching philosophy. Like, who do you look up to as a coach?
I think that's such a loaded question. I think we learn a lot from the coaches that didn't do a good job, and you kind of in your back of your mind like, all right, I'll never do it. Like when I get a chance, I'll never do that.
Yeah, you can learn a lot from people you don't like too.
And I think that you kind of, in my mind, those kind of are cemented in. But like I think you start to look at people. Let's just take Nick Saban for example.
He's one of my inspirations.
I mean, anybody that's in athletics looks up and they're in awe to him. And the people that are not in athletics don't understand what he did for as long as he did.
Such a good coach.
But I would also say the thing that when you look at great coaches, baseball, softball, football, in any sport, or just successful people, take sport out of it, they are attention to detail like no other. And the problem is that people always want to aspire to be these people, but they aren't willing to do what it takes. No. And that attention to detail, and you don't get days off. You don't and there's no such thing as balance, right?
No work-life balance.
Yeah, there's no work-life balance. You are 100. You're going to have parts of your life that you are completely imbalanced. And and so looking back at coaches that I've had Bill Wilhelm. He was a legendary old coach from Clemson. He's even before your time. He was before Leggett. That was at Clemson, and Ron Polk. I know these guys are like ancient. They're like the godfathers of college baseball. I was lucky enough as a teenager, for example, Ron Polk gave a coaches seminar in Rock Hill, South Carolina, at Winthrop University.
I played against them.
Before, and so I was 16, and so this would have been like 1992.
Nice.
I drive to the coaches clinic, and it's like in December. I'm the only kid there. I have like a notepad, and I'm like taking notes or whatever, and everybody's kind of looking at me like, what does this kid do? I was a little different. And I can remember he had his the baseball Bible that he had. So I bought a copy of that, and he signed it. And so I was lucky enough to be around some guys like that all right, success leaves clues, and let's do what they do, and that attention to detail. And so they had a huge impact on me, and they'll never know. But it's been a cool journey, learning from those, and kind of as you come across some things that don't go so well, just let's not do that.
Yep, get better every day.
Yeah.
And what about your family? You talked about your dad, giving you advice, being in the mortgage business. How does your family influence how you help shape young minds?
So my parents were divorced when I was really young, and my mother, it's a different age. Like, women today, professional opportunities are abound. And she worked, if there's anything she did, she was just a workaholic. And I think I truly get my work ethic from her. My dad was a good man. He was in law enforcement. And, as he's gotten older, he's been kind of that gives the sage advice. And, I remember when I first got married, for example, he said, you get to be happy, you're right, but you never get to be both. Right? And, if you're a married guy and you're listening to this,
Yeah,
you go,
no,
mm-hmm.
yeah.
And so as you get older, you start to go, oh, man, that was so good. It was so true. Just because there's certain times that, by God, I'm going to put my feet in the ground. I'm going to be right on this. But there are other times like, oh, it's not worth it. Just, and I think that's the same thing in business. That's the same thing in relationships. My wife is, we've been together for 22 years. We've been together since I was in college baseball back in the day, 2002, 2001 we met, 2002. And so she actually works for a healthcare park here in town. She runs 6 different healthcare parks, runs $500 million of revenue.
That's
so
amazing.
She's absolutely incredible. And so it's a dynamic lady, really, really proud to call her my other half.
I love it. No, it sounds, I mean, you definitely lead with a lot of high character, and you can tell, and that's really bleeds into the program we have here. And so let's go through the program. 40 plus teams, 500 plus athletes, ages 8 to 20. What is the philosophy of Titans baseball? Like, what are you trying to do when people come in here? What are you trying to develop?
I think I'm trying to develop better humans. I think that we use the game of baseball nothing more than a vehicle to try to plant the seeds that later hopefully bloom for life. And so I don't know if you guys noticed when you came in, like we're in our upstairs
Love it. I
hitting
want to get some hacks in.
And and apparently he could rake. That's
Long
what I was
time
told.
ago.
But when you came in, our cages are actually named accountability, responsibility, attitude, effort, and integrity. Those are our 5 core principles and what we live by. So we hire by those, we fire by those, we teach those. And I'm not saying that other programs don't teach those, but I would say we don't talk about it up front and then it not get talked about again. That's something that's a staple of what we do. And so, like, for example, Nathan and his group, I can't remember if his group around the same time, we were in Charleston, South Carolina. And we had 2 buckets of balls. There were 67 balls in both buckets.
Good attention to detail.
Yes. I don't know why I remember there was 6, 7, whatever.
6, 7, there we go. Clip it.
Anyway, so there were those number of balls in there, and they left the buckets at a field. I think we were playing at Charleston Southern in the summertime, and one of the coaches called me, "Hey, Chance, I think you guys left your balls." I'm like, "Thank you so much." So on the way out of town, I go grab the balls. We get back on Tuesday at our first practice or game. We had to do 67 different things and to earn 1 ball back, one at a time.
Wow.
And so it was like me teaching them, I don't care how good you are, nobody is above carrying a bucket. Nobody's above. And so I think that kind of pervades everything that we do here. So for example, I'm going to pick up trash and I've got incredible people that work with me, never for me, they work with me.
Team.
And they do an incredible job. But, if we have to go shovel stuff or we got to do this or pick up trash, then I'm going to be right there in the middle with them, and they do an incredible job. But I think that we show who we are through leadership and how we serve, not so much of how we dictate. But no, so as an organization, those are our 4 5 mantra, and everything is revolved right back around that.
No, I appreciate it. I love how many mantras you have around. I even look at this one over here: fear, false evidence appearing real. There's just so much confidence around here. You can tell there's a lot of culture. Why do you think development is potentially more important than exposure in the long run?
Because you're going to spend the rest of your life being in your own skin. You're going to spend the next 6, maybe 6, if 7 years, if you're lucky, after high school playing baseball.
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
And so I think they said the wise man plants trees that he'll never stand in the shade of. And so
I love that.
I'd look at this place and go, so the funny story about all of our I wish that I came up with these. I'm not that smart.
I love them, though. It's great. You walk around the building and you're reminded constantly, you're here for a purpose.
Exactly. And I think, so before I have this place, I think we as owners and entrepreneurs, you have these kind of visions, and you call it self-fulfilling prophecies and manifestations, whatever you want to call it. But prior to being here, I had this thing, we were going to have blue walls. And why are they blue? Our colors are royal and orange. But you can see a baseball when it's white, elephant, but it's every color has a thing. But if you remember, who is it? It's the sandwich place. They're freaky fast.
Jimmy John's?
Jimmy John's. Jimmy John's has the quotes on the wall. And so I would love to go to Jimmy John's, and I would find myself eating there, and I would read the quotes of man, if I ever have my own place, I got to have these signs up. And so one of them is Jimmy Valvano that's over there, and he's downstairs, and it was the 86,500. And I don't have a whole lot of, I'm not a tattoo guy, but I have that tattoo, and it was, the number of seconds in the day, and it was a reminder.
Oh, wow, that's what it stands
yeah,
for?
and so
how many is it?
86,400, whatever it is.
Hey, that's how many seconds in a day. Go get something done.
That's right. And so it was a constant reminder for me to invest my time, don't spend my time. Because if it's spent, it's done. But if you invest it now, you can compound it. Whether that works in finance, business, or whatever.
I mean, it's the only irrecoverable asset.
Yeah,
It's time. You can't
absolutely.
get it back.
And so the signs mean a lot to me, but hopefully it's, again, that perpetual just subliminally you're beating it into kids' heads. They don't realize it. They're reading it just by, oh, okay, what is that? What's false evidence appearing real? What does that
I
even
love
mean,
it, though.
right?
That reminds me. Don't be afraid of anything.
There's another one now that says, it's a sign, and it says opportunity, and it says nowhere together. Now, you can read it as opportunity nowhere, or you can read it as opportunity now here. And so, again, there's all these little things that we just kind of, I'm a big fan or a huge proponent of like motivation, inspirational quotes, and then people go, well, like, why do we need to do that every day? We take a shower every day.
Yeah.
Right? Because you need to clean up.
Yep,
well, you need to clean up your mind. So that's kind of one of the reasons why we do it.
So what has changed the most for you after working with hundreds of families? What perspective of yours has changed the most?
I think one of the things that's changed the most is they talk about kids changing. I don't know if kids have changed so much as we as a society have changed. And I think that people lose sight of how long a year is and how much can be done in a year.
Yeah.
They grossly underestimate what a year is. When we start talking about athletes, we like to look at our high school guys and say that we're a college preparatory program. They grossly underestimate what it means to play at the college level, baseball or softball.
It's hard.
And it's so hard, and it's gotten nothing but harder and harder and harder. The
it's so
average age of
competitive.
Power 4 Division I schools are like 22
Is
and a half.
Really?
Yeah,
For baseball?
For baseball, it's
That is
nuts.
insane.
Like 3 years ago, I talked to Western Carolina.
Yeah.
Western
I played against them with Purdue
Yeah.
in Cullowhee, North
Oh
Carolina.
yeah, Cullowhee.
Yeah.
I got stories
Good
about that
fans
place. But talk about being cold in February or March.
it's
but
freezing, yeah.
they were saying, this is 2-3 years ago, their average age was 21 years old at Western Carolina. And that's not like a power,
No.
they do a great job,
They
so
have
it's
a
no
nice
shade.
program, but
But every, it's gotten older and older and older. So you're just talking about a 17-year-old athlete, you're competing against 21-year-olds.
That's so hard, wow.
And the travel baseball world is competitive, but parents don't grossly underestimate how physical college and softball and baseball are.
So hard.
And so I think, the biggest things that change there are probably the horizon of where they're trying to get to. That doesn't mean it was easier before. It was much more of when you got there, coaches had more patience with you.
Yep.
Now there's no patience.
None because of transfer
And
portal.
because of the transfer portal. And so I think that's probably the thing that's probably changed the most, which in turn has to change our parents and the players and their understanding of what an acceptable workload is. And so I would say that's probably the biggest change.
Yeah, you love him or hate him. Elon always talks about that. He's like, if you work 100 hours a week instead of 40, you'll get what someone does in a year done in 4 months.
Yeah.
And I think that's always an interesting approach. And I think the more work you put in, I always recommend to kids like hit as much as possible. You got to love the cages. It's a great place to hit every day, and be able to truncate your learning. So I think that's really great.
It's funny. I actually wrote a book. It's like Pathway to the Diamond, and we did an analysis because with our doors, you can get door access. So we've had door access from 2017 to today. I looked at the top 10% of people that came in our doors that were not coaches, that were players. The top 10% of those guys, 70% of those players went and played college athletics.
Wow.
70% of our top
so putting
uses.
the time in is
and
a
so
very
it was
leading
basically,
indicator.
when you went back and looked at the time period, they came to this facility or they worked out on average 3-4 days a week. And so the average, if you look at like college athletics, high school baseball players, they say like it's 7% going to play college athletics.
Wow.
7, it's not a lot, 7%. When you're talking about Division I, you're talking about 1%.
1%, right? Yeah.
And so if you look at that, 70% of this cross-section of people went on to play college baseball. All right, what was the secret? They worked more than everybody
Put in
else.
the work.
Yeah, they just
You
work
get
more.
better. You get the repetition. You get the ground balls in here, the swings.
The only way to
in.
learn to hit is you got to hit.
You got to hit. You got to hit. I say hit every day. I mean, even if you're tired one day, just go take 20, 30 swings and work on something really minute. But you're the better coach than me for baseball, so we'll listen to this guy. But now we're going to get into the meat. We're going to get into some of the fun discussion. This guy has sent literally hundreds of players to colleges, hundreds of players to the pros. So he is an expert in the field. We have someone coming from a different perspective with me. I did live it. I will say I did live it. I did play D1. So it was, I'm not, and I always promote to the fans too, it's not what you have to live off the rest of your life.
That's right.
I'm more proud of my degree. But let's go through the discussion. So there's a few things we want to go through. First, low academic D1 versus high academic D3. I know we've had a couple commentary about this. So my take is this. I want to hear your rebuttal, of course. And again, we don't have to disagree. This isn't Stephen A. Smith, Skip Bayless. We don't have to disagree, but let's do it respectfully. I've been trying to push to people that, you know, for instance, West Carolina, which is a great baseball program, and don't want to pick on them right now. I believe you'd be better going playing at Emory than Western Carolina for your life. Like because I'm picking on an Atlanta school right now. Emory is an amazing academic school. It's D3. Like, how can we not agree with that?
I'm going to give you the political answer. Maybe. And so here's what
not taking a side.
No, and so here's what I would say. It depends on the player. So I had a conversation with you earlier about my daughter.
Yes.
She's playing college softball right now.
Which is amazing.
She's at Lipscomb University.
We're fans now of Lipscomb.
And she wants to do pre-med.
Yep.
And one of the comments I said is, I want her to take the next 4 years of her college to leverage to the next 40 years. So
100%.
She had an opportunity to go to University of North Carolina or go to Lipscomb.
Yep.
We looked at it as a family and said, all right, we could save the money for college. She's doing very, very well. They're taking care of her at Lipscomb. Or I could go to North Carolina, a nicer degree, and now we're going to have to pay money. Now when you get out, you're now going to have to go to medical school. Now you're going to have more more bills and student loans and those kind of things. We as a family said it was better for her to go to, say, Lipscomb. She'd be able to get her degree, be able to do pre-med. They're going to allow her the flexibility to do those labs where at an ACC school, they're probably going to punt them down the road. She's going to have to stay an extra year.
When you're playing sports, they kind of dictate your
you start to say, when I start to get inside the rosters, and so that's where people go, oh, yeah, you can do that here. But when I look at your roster, how many pre-med majors do you actually have on? Very none.
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 Engineering and pre-med, they hardly ever
allow. And for her in that scenario, it was about the right fit of her being able to play right away, be able to get her degree, save the money that we've set aside for college to now be able to pay for her medical school. I've had kids that leveraged, a kid went to private school here, and he was, now this is probably in the early 2000s, he was like 84 to 86. Today, that wouldn't even get you a college sniff, but it was probably in, we'll call it 2006, 2008 time frame. He ends up going to Penn.
Oh, nice. Let's go.
And the reason why he went to Penn was obviously incredible academic school. Went to a private school here in Atlanta, but his grades alone, he could not get into Penn.
No,
he was a very good student.
Helped,
So he ends up going to Penn his freshman year. He gets a 3.0. He applies to the business school, getting in. He took the game of baseball and parlayed it into a Wharton School of Business Education.
Amazing.
Changed his life. Not everybody can do that. So when I talk about that particular player, and I think maybe where we disagree.
No, we're getting close here. I think this is good. I saw, let me push back on that.
Sure.
One, love your perspective. I think there's something really important. We should dive into this now, is the financial piece. Because that is super important. One, not everyone comes from money. We want to make sure we're super empathetic to that. Most of the students, for instance, we serve at Subject don't come from money, and we're really proud of being able to help them have the best life possible. So let's assume you don't come from money for this discussion. Because if you come from money, it doesn't really matter. You could go to any school. So you don't come from money. If you know for sure you're going to go to graduate school, I'm very aligned with your perspective. Because if you know, hey, I'm going to graduate school, usually, like for instance, we have someone at our company who went to Seattle U, which is a solid school, but then he went to Wharton for his MBA. Nobody asked him where he went. He always, I went to Wharton.
Yeah.
If you go to graduate school, your graduate school pretty much carries your undergraduate, unless your undergraduate is phenomenal. Mm-hmm. The question is, though, what if, whether it's your daughter or someone, what if they don't go to graduate school? What if they change their mind?
Yeah. I think the thing you got to keep in mind is that everybody has so many different trajectories. What we look as, hey, I want the very best for my kid and those kind of things.
100%, always.
Not everybody's going to have that same trajectory. So, for example, if I come from a place that don't have money, I would say, hey, and you think that you want to play college baseball, the best opportunities right now would be go to junior college.
And I agree with this. I'm not here to argue this. So I went from junior college to Penn. I'm a huge proponent of junior college because similar to the graduate program, when you go to junior college, no one cares where you went to junior college or where you graduate.
That's right.
Okay. So like if you go play 1 year of junior college and then you go to I would suggest someone go junior college and then go to an elite academic school versus rushing to, I made it D1 and then you're stuck there. Now, obviously, transfer makes it a little bit easier movement. But, again, to go back to the original question, you know, a school like Emory, a school like MIT, a school like WashU St. Louis, why aren't more travel ball programs pushing those programs above the, and I don't know if you do, by the way, to be clear, but like a lot of travel programs are like, I want to tout, I had this many kids go D1, but isn't it better to have them go to a good D3 academically?
I don't disagree with you, but the problem with, say, MIT in particular, you have a better chance of getting struck by lightning twice to go to MIT.
It's hard, no.
Because, one, academically, you're off the chart.
Yeah.
Athletically, you obviously still have to be very, very good. And then the last part of this, you've got to be able to afford it. Now,
No, it is
MIT,
expensive,
and
yeah.
they obviously have a
give
lot
good
of
aid,
financial aids and those kind of things. But to the normal kid, that's out of reach.
But this is where I'd push back on the finances too, and I think we're in a pretty good place here. But like I believe vehemently that at MIT, now there's a very, very high bar. I'm talking about a few schools in the country, but at MIT, it's worth taking on the debt for, in my opinion. The question is like okay, it is a lot more expensive now. Let's say you have to take $300K in debt, and then you end up with interest paying $500K total back. Let's just say that. If you can't make $500,000 more in your career with MIT degree, then you shouldn't even go to college, in my opinion.
Here's what I would say. I think that for the specific person that can go to MIT, all right, that's an educated bet. That's certainly a well-conceived educated bet. To the normal person, for all of us, I got free lunch when I was in I came from nothing when I was really, really young.
Yeah, free and reduced lunch, that's a real program. Yeah,
and so I look at it, and so going like to the normal everyday guy is you're going to, I went to St. Andrews College. It was a stupid
which we have great respect for, by the way, and we want to make it clear, and we're to show like every college you pursue, we want you doing amazing. The thing that, not to cut you off, apologies, is to push on is, if you're on free and reduced lunch, wouldn't you probably get a lot of financial aid at MIT?
Maybe. And here's what I would say. I don't disagree with you, but I think the perception of a lot of people, and I deal with a lot of people in this world, there are a lot of people have no idea what that is. And then the other part of it is I think a lot of people almost feel guilty.
Yeah.
And so,
they do.
and there's so many, everybody's a very, very unique situation. I went from a scenario when I was really young, reduced lunch. Me, my mother, and my sister all slept in the same room. Wow. When I was in kindergarten, I thought we were camping out. How did I know? She couldn't afford to heat the whole place. Yeah. And that's not to say, woe is me, I had such a terrible childhood, but I enjoyed my childhood. I thought it was great. But my point, and then by the time I was in high school, she had worked her tail off and done incredibly well. So I saw two different, totally polarized dichotomies as a kid. But I still have that place where not everybody can afford it, not everybody has the means, not everybody even understands the process. So when you start talking about college and financial aid and athletic assistance and all these, parents are lost. They have no clue. And so there's tons of opportunities out there for parents to what you're talking about. Many of them have no idea where to even start.
Well, and that's why I think it's on us as leaders. You're a great leader. What I'm trying to do with subject and everything is to help people understand. Like when I was growing up, I didn't know what Penn was. Everyone knows what Harvard and Yale was. Didn't know what Penn was. My brother, he ended up playing. He quit after a semester, but he got into WashU because of baseball. We had no idea these schools. And after I went to Richmond and then transferred to JUCO to Penn, I told him, I said straight up, hey, don't even look at D1, D2, D3. Look at U.S. News, whatever the best ranking is, go there. And because he had a lot of interest and offers from like schools like, again, not shading anyone, clear, like Toledo, Ball State, but he chose WashU over that because it's a better degree. And so I think,
let me ask you,
I'll
ask you a question. I'll give you a question. So now with AI, stuff like subject.com, you've got so many non-traditional things that are coming down the pipe. And AI, we talked about it earlier, it is going to absolutely change everything that we know about the workforce. So for example, if you're an accountant right now, like you're going to be automated.
It's going to be, I hear
as
where
we
you're
sit
going.
here right now, I've got this platform called Recruiting Made Simple, and so
check it out after the call.
Absolutely, and so in there every month they're updating new coaches, contact information. AI, as we speak right now, is updating my database.
Yeah, the agents.
And it has an agent, and it's doing it. And then normally I would have had to like pay somebody to do that because there's like 300 changes in just the last month. So how does this AI world that we're going into change your perception of like education and what that means?
So for one, subject is this why we're clearly focused on secondary education. I have no interest in doing higher ed because I think it's a very messy space. I think everyone needs a baseline of education, and why we're so proud of what we do with middle school and high school. And you're working with these students as well. I believe firmly that what our stance is top 100 U.S. news or trade school. Now it's very simplified. Everything I do is simplified because it makes it easier for people to understand the lesson. I think that it's getting more and more important that you go to a top school because it's all about the network. It's not, to your point, it's not about what you're learning in class every day. We talk about it very openly. Like, we don't believe your college GPA is that important. Now, if you go to grad school, yes, it is more important. But it's more so about who you are with and can they get you a job, or can their family get you a job, the network, or trade school, which we think is a huge opportunity now as well. HVAC, plumbing, welding, construction, these jobs are going to be the future.
And they're not going anywhere.
Exactly.
They're going to be huge.
They're huge, yes. That's the future. So we're really encouraging of that. And so that's why I'm such a big proponent of the MITs of the world. I think that they're actually even more valuable today, whereas some of the lesser schools, they're not as valuable as they were. Think about it, in this 1960s and 70s, it was a less competitive world. And so getting a bachelor's degree was more of a differentiator then. Today, getting a random bachelor's degree might not differentiate you as much as you would think. And so our proponent is like, go to an elite school. And elite school doesn't even mean you need to go to MIT. School, the University of Georgia here, incredible school, one of the best public schools in the country. Go to school that's reputable like that, or we think the trades are awesome. And so a lot of opportunity there. I like that you pinned it back on me. I got to go back to you now.
Yeah.
So this one, travel ball versus high school baseball. I think we're in agreement here, but there's a little bit of discourse online on a couple posts. So let's hear your take, and I'll dive in. I mean, and also we just interviewed the Duke coach about this too.
Yeah, so I think, to your point, like about education, high school baseball has changed dramatically over the last 15, 20 years. I would tell you that I still think the experience of high school baseball is vital to the player and their development.
100% agree here. We're in agreement.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, I think, so for example, I take my older daughter, younger daughter, and kids that go through this. Playing on a high school team and, say, quote unquote, being one of the better players is a great experience for that player.
So fun.
Because they realize it doesn't matter what I do, I'm still part of a team. I can't do it all.
Yep.
So now when she's in college as a freshman, I actually literally had this conversation with her this weekend and go, can't do it all. You can't do it all. You can't do it all. And so learning that lesson in high school, now we're talking about something that you wouldn't think correlates, but it does. The other thing that I would tell you from a recruiting process that been very blessed to help a lot of players, your experience of playing high school baseball is one that you can never get back. It's kind of like going to your high school prom. The other part I would also say is your high school coach probably knows you better than anybody in that high school building.
Agreed.
They see you every day at school.
Yeah, they're a teacher usually too.
You're as a teacher capacity. They see you throughout the season, throughout every day at practice. With travel ball, we play on weekends. We have a couple practices. I see them more in games than that travel.
You don't, especially at the high school level, you don't practice that much for travel ball.
Yeah, so I'm going to see them more in games than their high school coach will see them in games, but they're going to see them more consistently because of your practices and that January to May time frame that they're going to be able to see them every day. So I think it's changed a lot. Is it as vital as it once was? No. One place I think we do agree, no college coach is going to see you in high school.
Yeah, and that's what, because one, we're calling this guy out right now, Coach Beatty. You took the debate. This guy's a champion. Coach Beatty took it and then flaked, so way to go not doing that. I never once said, I even said in the video, high school baseball is the best summer of my life. It is literally the peak, and I have a decently successful life right now. I was playing with my brother. He was a sophomore. I was a senior. Best memories ever. We had six.
Really cool.
We were in Northern Illinois, small school. 6 kids in my grade went D1.
That's
we had a very good program. Yeah. I loved it more than anything. Just saying, and I tore it up. I didn't get any offers from high school baseball. I wish that was not the case.
Yeah.
I wish travel ball is where you get the looks. We just went to this great podcast, Coach Mascara at Duke, and we asked him, and by no means were we baiting him or trying to influence him. We're like, hey, how do you get recruited to Duke? He said, straight up, it's travel ball and showcases. It's just the nature of the beast. It's travel. You should 100% play high school. I want to make it clear on the record. Yeah. Nobody said don't play high school. It's just not where you're going to get scouted.
No, and that doesn't mean that that's a bad thing. But to my point of it is when I talk to college coaches on behalf of my players, it is immediately let me talk to the high school coach because it's not
it's a good
about
back channel reference.
It's going to be that back channel reference of talk to me about his character, talk to me about his parents, talk to me about his.
They know more about the town.
They know more about the context of the person. Let's face it, college baseball coaches are great evaluators, or they wouldn't be there. One of your things we talk about, video and social media is massive right now. I know I use it with my guys. I coach at Atlanta Brave Scout Team. I got kids from all over the
Oh,
country.
you're doing nice. That's a great program.
And so I work with Ryan Klesko and his
So
group.
what's the biggest way to find them? Let's tell the fans out there. What platform do you find them the most on?
I'm going to Twitter.
That's what the Duke baseball coach said.
Yeah.
Too. Why? Why is it Twitter?
And so Twitter is such a low barrier of entry, meaning it's free. Anybody can get on there. I can on my phone. I can search anybody, and they're going to pop up. And so there's all these amazing services out there, but the problem is they're limited. Where Twitter is open to anybody and everybody. Anybody, it takes zero barrier of entry to get on. And so we try to educate our guys a lot of like, when you're on Twitter, what should that look like? How do I post?
Yeah, you got to make sure you don't post any nonsense on there.
Exactly. And so what I tell people, and again, having a kid go through this, I told her, I was like, your Twitter is your 24-hour-a-day news channel for you as a baseball or softball player.
Is.
And so nothing, you don't like anything.
Nope,
you don't do anything, post anything on there other than your recruiting content of what you're trying to push.
So are you looking for video on there?
Yeah.
Are people like posting like also there's a lot more analytics now. Like you could actually see like velocity, speed,
And
spin
honestly,
rate.
I would say I'm looking for movement patterns. I'm trying to talking to college coaches, I do the same thing. Is so my video, you send me a video, it piques my interest. I can watch you move. I can see how physical or not physical you are, how your body moves. And from there, I can pretty much correlate that. And then from there, the second steps are you're going to go to PBR, a perfect game, and you can see your stats and any showcases you've been there. I start to look at your matrix. I see how you move. And with about a 90% certainty, I can kind of pinpoint you, all right, yeah, this guy could play for me or not. And that's before I've ever seen you play.
So social media is big. Everyone be bigger on Twitter, but sounds like we actually agree travel ball is the best place. I mean, you run a travel ball program, but it is the best place to get scouted. And are there any big showcases you'd recommend to the players out there?
And so here's what I would tell you. I would take it a step further. I'm not a huge proponent of showcases.
Okay, why?
I think
A lot
They
of
could
money
be a
grabs.
money grab.
Yeah, there's a lot.
There could be a lot of money
Well,
grab.
that's the problem is like with and even travel ball, not a place like Titans, not a place like East Cobb. A lot of travel balls are money grab. And that's why and then the discourse gets online like, oh, see, you're just promoting. One, I don't even run a travel team, so I'm not promoting anyone. But if you go to the right travel ball team or the right showcase, you're right, it's usually like the invite-only showcases that are very hard to get to anyways.
Well, and here's what I would say is that there's showcases that you go to and there's no college coaches there. Well, all right, what's the point?
It's so bad.
And so,
there's a lot of those, though.
And there's a lot of those.
And
so they call them metric showcases, and I'm not a huge fan. So I would say I say it more of a camp. I want to be able to go to a camp that I know college coaches are actually physically be there. One of the things that we've done for our organization to kind of bridge this gap is every weekend we got 12 to 15 teams that are out playing at Perfect Game, PBR, and those kind of things.
Great organizations.
And so, but you're spread all over Hell's Half Acre for all of these tournament games and stuff. So at the end of the summer, what we did is took that same amount of money that I would have a team, all of our teams play in a tournament, we host our own showcase. So I bring in like 15 colleges.
Here?
And yeah, we do it actually here. We do it at Georgia Highlands as a turf field,
cool.
or this year we'll probably do it at Kennesaw State.
What are the dates?
I think it's like July 27, 28.
That's
so we bring
amazing,
in those 15 colleges. We pay them to be there.
Yep.
So anyway, I know they're going to be there.
they're going to be there, yeah.
And then the other part of that is because I'm paying to be there, it's quote unquote a camp. Well, now they can interact with the players and actually talk. So it's a way that I can get around the NCAA rules. And so we bring in all the guys. We do a pro-style showcase. We take their numbers. We take their metrics. And then in the afternoon, we actually do scrimmages. We provide the guys lunch. We take care of them. So now those coaches are there to see my guys. I give them rosters with all of the information, all the contact information. The parents are there. We do like a recruiting seminar. And I found that, hey, your kid, we went and played this tournament. Great. How many college coaches see? Maybe one, maybe two.
Well,
if you're an elite team, maybe you got a guys. But let's face it, they're not at every single game.
They're not. And that's the hardest part about baseball, I think, is that you have to perform when they're there.
Yes.
And there's a lot of luck of the draw. I remember my brother was at like the Jupiter tournament, Worldwood Bat, and like hit a bomb. But then like the Michigan coach showed up his next at bat, and he struck out. And it's like that's like the luck of the draw.
That's right.
I love that you curate that environment with the hosting a showcase. That's absolutely brilliant. This is why you want to be able to go to a place like Titan Sports Academy. I think one shout out I'd want to give to showcases like or camp, to your point, is like the Head First. The Head First group does a great job for high academic programs, and highly would encourage players to check that out. But I completely agree with you there.
And I think what you said there is understand your fit.
Yes.
Understand your fit. So if I'm a high academic kid, I want to go to a Head First. I want to go to a very specific college or a camp that's going to have those like minds there. There's so much going on that you need to, so for example, I'm running this, putting this site together, Recruiting Made Simple. 90% of kids go to school within 6 hours of where they live.
Really?
90% of kids go to a college within 6 hours of where they
makes
live.
sense, yeah.
So, because I'm not driving 12 hours to go see you play. I've done all this. I want to see you play too and enjoy this process as well.
Yeah.
So, right? And so, selfishly, and then so you start to look at, if you're in Georgia, you want to, mid-major D2 in Oklahoma? Probably not.
Probably not.
There's so many opportunities within 6 hours. So understand that when you go through the process. So that's kind of why our system
Lipscomb 6 hours away?
What's that?
Is Lipscomb 6 hours away?
4 hours.
Wow, it's that close?
Yeah. Nashville's 4 hours
That's
from
a
here.
good drive. Wow, that's a good location. Wow,
and
that's
so
amazing.
With Recruiting Made Simple, you can make it 2 hours. You can make it 30 minutes.
Nice.
You
So
can make
can
it
actually change the
You
radius.
can change
That's cool.
it to
I like
nationwide, but it starts to get into like your academics. So for example, I may be a great fit for this school athletically, but academically, I could be a terrible fit because my GPA, SAT, and those scores are low. And so people always think, oh, I want to lean in the academics. Well, if you're not an academic kid, well, now you're going to struggle there. You may be able to play there, but now you're going to be. And so one of the things I had one of my players tell me, Georgia Tech.
It's a great school.
Great school.
Love Georgia
But one
Tech.
of the things that he said is that it's a great place. He competed there athletically in the ACC. He was like, it's so hard to stay eligible here because everybody else gets all day, every day to study and do their papers and all this stuff.
Hard.
He's like, I don't get that. And he said, he's
hard
like,
to
it
manage the workload.
is so hard to stay eligible. And you wouldn't say, oh, eligible is easy. Not at Georgia Tech.
It's not. I'm glad he was honest. Yeah, I mean, that was
so
really hard.
it was totally flipped. And so when you start thinking about fit, you really need to get into, all right, what are my socioeconomic needs? Maybe it's a religion. Maybe it's a private school, public school, big city, small city. My younger daughter does not want to go to a big city. She wants to go to somewhere a little more out and about.
She doesn't like Nashville?
She loves Nashville, but she doesn't like Nashville. She was like, I like this place, but I never want to live here. I'm like, okay.
Hey, I like the self-awareness. That's
Yeah,
good, yeah.
and so it's been interesting seeing it with my own kids and now talking to other families.
Send her to Dartmouth. There we go. New
Yeah.
Hampshire Ivy League. Be good. That's a great segue into the next debate is Ivy League versus SEC. I feel like we're probably going to disagree on this.
Yeah.
I think you should go to the Ivy League. Kid here gets an offer to play at LSU, top program in the country arguably, or Harvard.
I would tell him he's never going to play at LSU.
Wow, okay, wow.
I'm just being honest with him. Like you would,
especially as a freshman, yeah.
As a freshman, you're not. No,
You're not.
So, for example, do you know that last year UAB had the same number of guys drafted than University of Georgia?
No, I know.
So if you're wanting to play professional baseball and you want to play, then going to a Power 4 school. So let's rewind this in a different way. In 2024 graduates, there was 3 kids that were ranked in the top 100 players in the country.
From here?
From Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay. In high school.
In high school, there were 2024 top 100 players in the country.
Okay.
All 3 of them went to Georgia. They were from the state of Georgia.
Oh, really? That's a great program.
Between 3 of them, as their freshman year, in the spring of 2025, which was last year, they had 24 at-bats between the 3 of them. They were the best players in the country, and they didn't play.
Well, this is why you got to get the best education.
Well,
exactly
and I don't disagree with you, but the same kid that can go to LSU probably is not going to Dartmouth.
I agree.
And so you're
most
talking about
likely
2 different people.
Well, agreed. But I think the big thing that I'm trying to stress to players here, like my dream was to play MLB or NHL, and I didn't make it. But it was my dream, and
Absolutely.
I bet most kids here, their dream is to play MLB.
Sure.
Because who does it? When you're in high school and you're like, I can make $60 million a year playing a game I love. That's the best thing in the world.
Yes.
I think what I'm trying to push in is you can get drafted from the Ivy League. It is harder. Don't get me wrong, but the backup option from Ivy League degree is so much better. You think about, and like hopefully some of our fans are out there to remember these names. You probably will because you love the game so much. When I was playing, Vanderbilt won the national championship. Their team was, and keep in mind, this is a great school too, so maybe it's a bad example. But like they had guys like Rhett Wiseman, Xander Wheel, all these guys who, Dansby Swanson, he's made it. He's great. Nobody else from that team has made it. Nobody else. Carson Fulmer as a pitcher maybe. Like none of these other kids end up making it. And it's like they were the national champions and they didn't make their career in baseball. It's so hard to make it that if you're that good, why can't you make it from Harvard? If you're that good, if you're a specimen.
Well, yeah, but I think you're comparing apples and oranges because academically is completely different than being good athletically.
Oh, agreed.
And
I'm saying
so
if you're the
I
best
think
baseball player in the country and you went to Ivy League school, do you not think you would get drafted high still?
if you were the best player in high
Like, who's the best player right now in college baseball? You would know better than I. Rock Chowalski on UCLA.
Yeah, UCLA.
Go Bruins. That's where I got my MBA.
Yeah.
So if he was at Harvard, you don't think he would go first round?
I think, well, again, he wouldn't go to Harvard.
Why not? That's what I'm
Well,
challenging
that's the
here,
thing. He wouldn't go to Harvard because academically it would take away from time that he needs to spend to be the best baseball player in the country. And so
Maybe.
So if you're going to Harvard or academic school, you're going to have to spend we talk about Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
You're going to have to spend so much time there studying, which again, in their own right, they should be. You shouldn't be easy to go to Harvard. But at the same time, that guy's not going to go there because he's not going to be able to put in all the time to be as good as he can.
Well,
to
so
be
I
one of the
think,
best in the
we're
world.
getting, this is good. We're getting a good meat of this debate. So I think you're right. Now we're doing a little too extreme. So Rock, I hope I pronounced the name well, Chowalski, he's going to make $8-9 million this year.
Yeah.
So he's actually doing it right. Now let's bring it back to the middle again. So let's talk about even like a 3rd rounder through 15-round draft pick. Don't we believe they would make more money? And not saying life's all about money. I want to be clear here too. But if we're talking money, they'd make more money as a Harvard alum than a 3rd to 15th round draft pick.
If your measure of success and professional,
We're just talking money right now. We'll go back to fulfillment after.
Is
Yeah,
money,
yeah.
or if you could say professionally over 50 years having a degree from Harvard,
You'll probably make, again, like if you can make the MLB, it's the best.
Yeah,
we're aligned here, but like if you're
right,
minor league,
yes, but now you cut the head off the snake and go, all right, if I graduate from an elite institution, obviously I'm going to do well. If I make the Major League Baseball, obviously I'm going to. Now let's talk about everybody else.
Okay, so now we're moving away from, this is good. So we're moving away from Ivy League and 1st round draft picks. So now we're going, hey, 3rd to 15th round draft pick versus a ACC, Big Ten, SEC school.
And I think when you even say 3rd to 15th round draft pick,
but
you're
there's
still
not
talking
variance.
about elite.
Oh,
players.
you're talking about studs. These are star players, but it's very hard to make it. Like, you talk about 1st round draft picks, I want to say around a 3rd of them get at least one MLB inning, and that's still not that high.
Yeah.
Once you get to 3rd round, you're talking about like less than 10%, which is insane to
it
think about
falls
because
off
it's
a
so
cliff.
hard to get drafted in the 3rd round. You are a superstar college player if you get drafted 3rd round.
That's right. So I would say that, again, it's all about how you wouldn't say manipulate such a bad word, but utilize the system to kind of get where you want to do. So, for example, let's talk about the kids that we talked about, UAB. He gets drafted after his junior year.
Okay.
And
So he doesn't have his degree, though.
He doesn't have a degree, but with most of those guys, they're going to be able to, through Major League Baseball, they fund the accounts for them to finish their education.
Which, if they go back, I swear, a lot of them don't go back.
And a lot of them don't go back, and that's their own stupidity, and they should certainly do that.
Which we want to help encourage, like, always pursue it.
Absolutely. And so if you have that and you go, okay, I'm getting it paid for no matter kind of where I go, then I should try to find if I'm done playing and now I'm going back, I should find the very best education.
I love this approach. This is the right way to do it.
So I went to UAB.
But a lot of people don't do it.
No. And so
you went to UAB?
What's that?
You went to UAB?
No, I didn't go to UAB.
Oh,
I got one of my
St.
players
Andrews.
as a recruiting
cool,
coordinator,
okay.
and so he was telling me.
It's a great program.
Great program. And so, say for example, and I'm just using UAB as an example, but say you're in a mid-major, Division II, Division III, whatever program you're in, you get drafted, and part of your signing bonuses is we're going to help you pay to finish school. When you are done playing, or you decide,
you could go to
don't just go to any school. They're going to pay for it. Then you go to the best freaking school you possibly can.
And now you have pro baseball experience, and that using that on an application that's unique.
Yes.
But most people don't do that, and so I think. So, like, let's keep drilling down this because it's a really good discussion for all of our listeners to hear out on. So, for instance, UAB, great program and a decent school. But what about going to like a bottom-tier Big Ten or ACC school that has way better academics? Why not do that?
I mean, you could. Like, all right, so you were saying one of the things I think that we were kind of going back and forth was like the club thing.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so let's drill into this right now.
And so, like, would you go to a club school at Michigan rather than playing, say, at Columbus State Division II?
Yes, yeah. So, okay, let's dive into this. See, this is good. Yeah. He's putting the tables back on me. This is great.
All right, and so...
I think my push there is, there's so much pressure on kids, especially when you're in this environment. And this isn't on you. This is on me. Like, this is on society.
Yes.
when you're growing up and your identity as an athlete and you're a baseball player, you are judging your performance based on where you make it. Like, am I a D1 player? What's my friend doing? Or are they, I'm D2, D3, so much of that. Whereas if you don't, like, if you talk to many of our colleagues who didn't play sports, they don't care about that at all. They're just like, hey, where am I going to go to school? I'm going to apply. I want to have a great experience. I want to meet people. I want to have fun. I talk about meeting my wife. She went to Florida State. She had the best time of her life. It was amazing. I'm so jealous. Whereas like all of my friends and stuff, there's so much pressure. Like, I got to play baseball at the next level because you drilled in that as your identity your whole life. I'm more so trying to give these kids an opportunity to say, hey, you go play club baseball at Penn, you're probably going to have a better life than these kids playing low in D1. And so like, and obviously you got to get into Penn on your own then, which is very, very hard. It's more so trying to say like, hey, if you're not getting the schools that you want to offer you for sports, you can still play sports while not being on scholarship and carry the love of the game. And I think there's so much misinformation around that.
Here's what I would add to that. I think that the perception of baseball guys, and I'm probably an arrogant baseball guy, I put myself in that category.
I love baseball.
But I would say that playing a club sport doesn't feel like you really played.
Agree, but why does that matter?
And not that it does matter, but so for example, the guy that goes to say Columbus State, he maybe he can't afford to go to Michigan and play the club.
No, it's
where
expensive.
He can go to Columbus State and he can get it paid for. He can get some academic money. He can get some athletic money. Maybe he gets need money. It allows him an opportunity to continue his career and get an education where if it was based on just his own merit academically, he may not have those same opportunities.
Well, then it's better than, then that's the difference. So if he doesn't have the academic opportunity, then I agree. But if he does have the academic opportunity to go to Michigan, like I always say, and I talk about this even when we're selling subject, because premium product, we charge a fair amount, we believe, and we deliver incredible value. Would you send your kid to McDonald's every day because it's cheaper, or are you going to get him a Chipotle bowl every once in a while? I say you're going to invest in your kids because you want them to have a good life. You shouldn't just pick the school based on what's the cheapest. Of course, finances play a huge part. I can't stress enough. It is a factor, but it shouldn't be the only factor.
No, it's certainly not the only factor. And again, that's when we talk about fit. You look at athletic fit, you look at academic fit, you look at financial fit, you look at all socioeconomics, whether that's public, private. There's so many anomalies. And so I've been so blessed. We've had over 1,200 kids go play college professional baseball.
Unbelievable. Huge credit
and
to
so
you.
I tell people, I never once got anybody signed. Everybody got themselves signed. So when people are going through the process, they expect me to, hey, just tell me what to do. Like, no, that's not my job. I'm going to ask you questions because each family has this own unique journey through this. Because what you feel is important for your son and what I feel completely different. So, for example, you see a lot of guys that do sign, and maybe they go to Auburn or maybe they go to this school. And I'm like, dude, you're never going to play. That's not my place to throw shade at them.
But is it a problem though if they don't play, they're getting a better degree?
Yes, and exactly. That is their decision. What they deem as important, I don't have to deem as important.
Agreed.
Like, so for example, my kids would not be happy going to a place and never feeling like they have an opportunity to contribute.
I was
early.
the same. That's why I left
And they would be
Richmond. Is I was
miserable, right?
not going to play. I
Exactly.
hated it. But I think you're right. You would be miserable. But like, how do we better educate them that that's not the end all be all?
No, it's certainly not.
Like,
and I'm not saying I'm probably wrong.
Because I was like, I got to play. I'm not playing as a freshman. I'm out of here.
Yeah, exactly. And so I would say I'm maybe wrong in that. Or maybe, to your point, the right decision is to maybe go down the road of making a better academic fit or somewhere that's going to allow me to network better. Not to say that's wrong. It's unique circumstances to that individual, their family, their finances, and what's available to them.
This is great. So do you think, though, 20 years from now, again, if you are a coach, if you are running a program, 100% this matters. I want to say random construction work on the street, random white-collar work at a law firm in Atlanta right now, do they really care if you played 20 years from now versus your degree?
No, and I would argue 20 years from now, they care less what your degree is.
Somewhat. Well,
they're going to be more concerned of, like, what did you do from those 20 years?
I agree.
Your first job after college, second job, probably where you got your degree matters.
I agree, but what if you went to
20
Harvard?
years from now?
It might fly away.
So the question there, is it about the degree or is it about the network?
Well said. See, you got some good questions for me.
Yeah,
I think the network, to your point, but that is part of the degree. And I believe firmly with you. I'm with you there. your network is more important than the degree, but I guess the degree is a proxy for what your network is. And so like,
It gives you a head start.
yeah. Well, I'm saying even 20 years from now, like for instance, I'm not there yet, but I'll be 20 years out of, I mean, I'm only like 10, 15 years out, so I got a lot, but when I'm 20 years out of my program, having a degree like Penn can bring a lot of value.
Sir, and so
Because
I
the
would,
network be like, hey, like you're Penn alum, blah, 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 like all this stuff. And so like, that's, I think our push is like, hey, and I agree, it's probably not every school, but I do believe, again, we believe top 100 schools of value.
yeah, no, do I believe it's a value? Certainly. But I would say 20 years after my degree, it's more about what I've done and how I've leveraged relationships. If I'm a great networker, I went to a Division II school. I'm pretty good network.
100%. You can be successful even as a high school dropout. I just want to make it clear. Like, if you're a successful person, you're going to make it. You're obviously super successful. I think it's just your degree gives you more of a likelihood. Like, Harvard versus West Carolina. Your Harvard grad will have a much higher likelihood of being successful. Doesn't mean you can't be successful in Western Carolina. So I think we're in agreement there. What about the D2 or NAIA? So yeah,
I think the D2.
should you ever go D2 or NAIA?
All right, so I think I would put D2, NAIA, Division III all in the same bucket.
Yeah, and today versus that one, because like I know like sometimes I think it gets thing where it's like, oh, he's calling out my you grew up. I grew up in a different time. I'm saying today.
And so I would say in today, Division II, Division III, NAIA are all kind of in the same bucket, and you're going, are they good? Are they bad? It depends.
You would say though a D3 school better academics over a D.
And so when you say that, so D3 schools here, you got obviously Emory.
Emory's amazing.
Amazing, right?
Yeah.
And there are some incredible D3 schools.
MIT, that's where you should go.
Yeah. But on the other side, there's also some D3 schools in the South that are,
I agree with you there, and I think that's where a lot of my content gets taken out of context. Like, not every D3 school is good either.
No.
It's more it's more to say there are some really good D3 schools. MIT, Emory, NYU, U Chicago, which happen to be D3. And I'm saying those are better than going D1, D2, etc. because they're such good academically.
Again, back to you're
gonna say fit.
Oh, it's so hard to. It's about the fit. It's so hard because we're making generalizations that aren't fair generalizations. Because my younger daughter, for example, we're in Georgia. She couldn't get into Emory.
You don't know yet. What if she's like the best softball player and they want to like?
But then they don't care because they're Emory, right?
Yeah. Well,
right?
but like I think about that. Like there's a kid I know who, ACT, SAT for the fans out there. I took the ACT. There was a colleague that I know who got a 21 in his ACT. Remember, it's not a 36. It's not phenomenal. And went to Yale.
Yeah.
Because they got him in. Because that's the thing. That's why I'm like, sports can be a tool to get you into these schools that you have no business going into. And it's insane the power of sport. Like Yale, I remember when I went on my visit there, I don't know the number exactly, but they said like it was like 500 or 600 kids who had perfect SAT scores who got denied that year.
Yeah.
And it's like you're getting in with the 21. That's like so special.
And that's special circumstances. Again, if I hand you $1 million, what can you do with $1 million? You give $1 million to somebody that don't know how to handle money,
I agree.
Blow it.
Yeah.
So I could have a Yale degree, but if I don't know how to leverage it, then it was
I agree.
I could have a degree from Alcoa, which is
don't even know where that is.
Yeah, it's in Georgia, and who is it? Tusculum College, DHL.
We had a kid from my team who got drafted out of high school from Cherry Grove who played at Tusculum. He went to Houston, and because back then too, don't transfer D1 to D2. You play right away.
That's right. And so like at Tusculum, one of the biggest donors at Tusculum went to was a founder of DHL.
Wow, okay.
All right, so all right, he used the Tusculum education to obviously be successful.
I love that. I agree with you, and like I talk about even at our company, a lot of our most successful people, in Grand Canyon University, Loyola Marymount, and really solid schools, but they're not schools that you'd be writing home about like top 50 in the country, but they're great character people and they work super hard.
Absolutely.
So we see a big impact there. I have one baseball debate piece for you. The swing as hard as possible. Coaches only care about bombs. You didn't like that?
Oh, I didn't like that. I don't like that. All right, and so here's
Are you a small ball guy? Are you want to kid?
No. I think the problem is
no bunting.
No. I like bunting. I like again, much like education and finding school, it's about figuring out what are you the best at.
Yeah.
So, for example, if I'm a guy that hits bombs, okay, I expect you to hit bombs. But if I tell the guy, one of the things in the baseball world over the last 5-7 years with metrics and all coming out as launch angle,
That's a lot of strikeouts and Bob.
Yes, and so the problem with that scenario is that you have guys that are currently in the big leagues that if they tried to hit with that same intent when they were 15 or 16 years, they would completely fail. They can do things now that they couldn't do when they're 15 or 16. So asking a 15 or 16-year-old to do something like a big leaguer, you're going to fail. So, for example, Victor Scott, he's a center fielder for the St. Louis Cardinals. He played for me in 2017. Oh, wow. Great story. What a great guy. He's persevered. He's a product of a great player, kept his nose down. And remember when minor league baseball or Major League Baseball, they changed the balk rule where you can only throw over twice, and if you do it, you get second.
Yeah, I love that.
They did that in minor league baseball before bringing it to the big leagues. The first year they did it, he stole 95 bases.
Wow.
But made the big leagues. Obviously, incident rule, he's been in the big leagues and so on. He played on my 2017. I went back and looked at Game Changer.
I love that site.
He had the 11th highest batting average on the team.
Wow.
He's playing in the big leagues.
Wow.
He had the 11th highest batting average. He only hit 9, right? And so he could run. He had a lot of swing and miss, but man, he could freaking really run. He would hit ground balls. My point of it is all the heroes and champions in life have not already been chosen. And so people get so caught up with.
That's a really cool story. 11th best batting average on a travel ball team.
16, and now he's in Major League Baseball. And so my point of it, if you would have looked at that and been like, all right, you get the 11th highest batting average in high school, you're just, he's a throwaway. He wouldn't be in the big leagues, right? So if he believed that he was a finished product, then he would have been done. My point of saying that what's happened over the last 10 years with the whole launch angle idea, it's made guys 15, 16, 17 years old think that I should have hit all these long fly balls. And so what they'll do, and I've seen it every year, they'll come back to the dugout and go, oh, I just missed that. You're standing in the dugout. You didn't miss anything. All you did was you hit it with everything you had, a 260-foot fly ball, which is an out. Yeah. Instead of the 35 degrees of launch angle, let's keep it at about 12 or 15. Hit a ball in the gap at 12 to 15 degrees. Now you're standing at second base going, oh, I just missed that, but I got to double the gap. Hard ground balls, line drives still play. The problem is that Major League Baseball and all the saber matrix go, oh, your on-base percentage and your extra-base percentage is so much higher when you get the ball in the air. The problem is they don't take those same numbers, don't play in high school. Because that same guy at 30 degrees, well, he only hit at 260, it's out. Where if he hits it at 18 degrees, 15, 12 degrees, that's a single on the left or a double on the left. Now his batting average is higher. He's more confident with himself. He's more valuable to his team. The other thing is high school baseball fields aren't as nice as Major League Baseball.
No.
Infielders aren't as good. So I can hit a ground ball in the 6-hole. It's going to take a bad hop, even with a great shortstop, and it's going to be a hit. And that kid at 16, even the guy that, great, you said Dan Sue Swanson. Dan Sue Swanson, he's from this. Yeah, he actually, his dad lives really close. His dad's Cooter Swanson.
He was like a great guy.
A great guy. I remember when he was in high school and he told me that he was going to Vanderbilt, I was like, I don't know if that's going to be a fit. Guy ends up being a first overall pick, right? He made himself an incredible player. Dan Sue Swanson, when he was 16 years old, I hit a ball in a 6-hole. He couldn't go on 6-hole, pick it, put a foot in the ground, and throw that guy out at first.
Wow.
You can't. So we have these ideas as to what Major League Baseball players could do. And now you bring them back to when these same guys that are currently in the big leagues, they couldn't do that when they were 15 or 16 either. So the whole launch angle, hit all home runs, it's kind of came down into high school in the travel ball ranks, but I think it's made players worse.
Yeah. No, I like it's a fair perspective, and I wish you were my coach. I would have got a lot better coaching. Okay, so let's go into some fit and long-term thinking, more out of the debate question. Awesome stuff. Love the back and forth. Let's talk about how do we protect families from making the wrong decisions? How can we make them better? So, why any offer isn't success? Like, why families should not get overly excited about some random offer? Like, how do you coach them through that?
Well, and I think
you talk about the fit thing. Like
the fit thing's huge. I think that the problem that parents, they get sucked into any offer being as they're enamored is they don't do the homework before
they mistake the first offer. This happens a lot.
They don't have they don't have the what is that? They don't have the family meeting where you sit down, we break bread, and we don't get up until we've made a decision, kind of thing. They don't
recommend doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And so one of the things we did it with my old kid, and I do this for a professional. We have a break bread, and I told our parents, you need to have a break bread meeting, and it needs to happen probably before you're able to sign. And in that meeting, mom gets 5 minutes, nobody can talk. Dad gets 5 minutes, nobody can talk. Kid gets 10 minutes, nobody gets to talk, and all you do is write when everybody
Lets a sibling talk.
Huh?
Does a sibling
And the sibling probably gets to say so in there as well. But those three people, and the problem is that in that 5 minutes for mom, 5 minutes for dad, 10 minutes for player, everybody's going to put on the table what they think's important. And that, like, so mom's going to say, you know, hey, I want you to go to school, but I want to go see you play. Dad, yeah, I want to see you play. Or, you know, dad, like, for example, I have daughters, and so I didn't think that my older daughter was going to do well in a place that she couldn't be able to play early. So that was like, I'm an expert. And what parents don't do is they don't understand you're an expert in your kid. My point of saying all this is you need to get on the table all of the things that are non-negotiable for that player. Mom's going to have some great input. Dad's going to have some great input. Player's going to have some great input. And we're going to get on the table what we feel is important. So, for example, again, I use some personal experiences. My older daughter said, I want to play for a female head coach. Cool. Great. You want to play for a female head coach as a softball player. I want to do pre-med. She had some things that were non-negotiable. Because we had those non-negotiable, now when we had other people offer, it just took it off the table. And I think what happens is when you haven't had that conversation, when you start getting these offers, you're all over the place because you don't know what's important to you. And it doesn't give you a buy box to understand what's important to you to really be able to navigate the waters.
That was well done. I love the breaking bread meeting. That's a great suggestion. I hope our listeners take that away. How do you think beyond the 4 years of the college decision, how do you help your families really make sure they're not chasing the wrong opportunity?
And I think you start to kind of go as like, all right, what do you want? You start to say, okay, what do you want your world to look like? What do you want to live? What do you want to do? Where do you
want to live? I always say that. What city do you want to live in after college? It's very important.
Very important. And so it's like, asking a 16-year-old kid, like, what do they want to do with their life is like asking them, like, split atoms. They don't know.
Yeah, they have no idea.
They have no idea. All right, well, what's important to you? Do you want to go to a job where you're going 8 to 5? Do you want to have, like, more autonomy? Do you like AI? Do you not like AI? You like to... And so you start to kind of build out this world of what I want my life to look like. Maybe I want to be a teacher.
There's so many beautiful professions.
And so trying to get an idea and then go with the parents like, all right, let's help reverse engineer. Mom, you know what's important to him or her. Dad, you know what's important to him or her. And from those three people, you start to kind of form that reality. Now we can reverse engineer that back to, again, trying to figure out our buy box. And I think when I start to look out at 15 or 20 years, we don't know what it's going to look like, but we certainly have some ideas. I'm probably not going to go to Hawaii. We've never been to Hawaii. It's a cool place, but I'd like to visit. But I don't see any of my kids living there. Where a lot of people, man, that'd be great, especially if California. It's a 4-hour flight, no big deal.
Yep.
Right. For me, that's a complete world.
It was so far from here.
Right. And so you start to kind of meld that together. But at the end of the day, let's start with the end in mind.
Yep, I love that. So we're gonna do some recruiting rapid fire now. And so we just want to really be able to get your take, either this or that. There's no wrong or right answer. We're not even getting my take. We're just getting your take. So let's rip through this. Ready? So batting average or exit velocity?
Batting average.
ERA or throwing velocity?
Whip.
That doesn't even answer. Okay. Okay, it's a good one. Stolen bases or 60-yard dash?
Stolen bases.
Well, shout out to Victor. Yeah, good guy. Slugging percentage or home runs?
Slugging percentage.
Okay. That was the athletic portion of the this or that. Now we're going to go into the academic portion of this or that. You ready? ACT, SAT, or GPA?
GPA.
Showcases or tournaments?
Tournaments.
Emails or DMs?
I'm going to say emails. The reason why I'm not saying DMs is a lot of people haven't turned off.
That's fair. Twitter, everyone get on Twitter. AP classes or 3-sport athlete?
AP class.
He loves education now. He's coming on board. This is great. Okay, now we have a college edition of this or that.
Okay.
Ivy League or SEC athlete?
SEC athlete. If you
Okay,
could.
he's going back. He doesn't like education anymore. Internship or summer ball?
In high school or college?
I think we're referring to college.
Oh, internship in college.
Yeah, I very strongly believe that. It's very controversial with the college coaches. They want to make you play summer ball, but it is what it is. Club sports or frat?
That's like choosing a list to read. If you're doing club sport, you're basically in a frat. So let's say it's frat.
Yeah.
I'll probably get hammered on that.
D1 bench warmer or D3 all conference?
D3 all conference.
Awesome. And so I think just lastly, we have a few other insight questions, and then we're going to do a good moment of gratitude together. You've been so fun to talk to. I definitely wish I would have played here. Really, really inspired. So some of these last things we really want to be able to help families out there so they can navigate the process. So, what's one recruiting myth that needs to die?
If I'm good, they'll find me.
Completely agree. Thank you. I literally have a post right now on TikTok where people keep saying that it's the high school baseball. Like, oh, if you're good, they're going to come find you. No, you know how many high school baseball players there are out there? No.
Yeah, you're a needle in a needle stack.
Yes, literally. It is so hard. You got to work harder to get recruited. What's one mistake most families make?
They're not organized enough.
What do you mean by that?
They don't have the meeting we talked about.
I love breaking bread meeting.
They don't have like a way to really be able to kind of what I'm creating recruiting made simple, but they don't have a way to understand like, all right, what is the GPA of the school? Is this a high academic school, low academic school? Where would I even fit? Like really kind of dive into the roster. Like, do those kids on that roster look like me? Do I look like them? Would I be a fit on that roster? Like, if everybody's 6'3", 215, and I'm 5'9", well, you're not fit.
It's so hard. Yeah, I remember when I went to Richmond, everyone was like 6'4", and I'm not even that short. I'm 6'1", but I was like, wow, I'm gonna have to muscle up. I gotta hit more bombs. That's right. The fences. What's one thing athletes should start doing earlier?
Player performance training.
Come to Titan Sports Academy. One thing parents should stop doing.
Stop saying it's his decision. Because I think there's so many times they just go like, oh, well, it's little Johnny's decision on where he plays with travel. He wants to play with his friends. And as the adult, we need the adult in the room that can be the adult and be like, all right, what is a value proposition that we're receiving, either playing from this travel team, going to this school, going to private or public education, like all of those things. It's your household, your kid. You have to kind of be the adult in the room to help guide them to some of these decisions.
Completely agree with that. I love that. And what's one coaching lesson you learned the hard way?
It's easy being you. It's hard being somebody else.
Wow, that's divine good wisdom. So we always end our episodes on the subject with one specific way, and I'm sure you'll have a really easy time doing this, although it'll be hard for you to probably choose, is we want to give gratitude. We say that coaches, and you're one of these coaches, so thank you for all that you do for kids. Coaches and teachers are the heroes in society. They're the one helping young people, and that's why we're in education. So is there one coach or teacher that you'd love to say thank you to end the episode that has helped you?
You see so many.
And
trying to think back in the day and that kind of stuff. I would say a guy named Gary Swanson. He was my coach at St. Andrews School. So super small school, not even there anymore.
Thank you, Gary Swanson.
And he made me grow up really, really hard on us. Man, the stories I could tell, it was his nut job. And a lot of the things you learn, they don't do that as a leader. But I would also say, man, he made me grow up, learn accountability, really understand what accountability, responsibility, what it was. And he really melded us to team. Some of those guys, teammates that I have in college, there's been some of my best friends for life. A guy named Todd Locklear, he's over all of collegiate endorsement with Under Armour, from Maryland. And again, small school.
Beautiful, I love it.
Yeah, it's out in the middle of nowhere. They actually closed the school last year. It's like Laurinburg, North Carolina. The facilities were terrible. However, the coach, he made us grow up. And really, it was tough. It was really, really tough. But looking back, it was exactly what I needed in that point in time in my life.
I love that. See, that's the power of coaching. That's the power of education, power of teaching. And thank you so much for your time today. Another incredible episode on the subject. And please comment, like, subscribe, find us, especially on YouTube and Spotify. We're really trying to push our content. And thank you again for a great episode. This was so beautiful, and this is why it's all about, is helping young people become the best version of themselves. Thank you so much, Coach.
Perfect. Absolutely. Thanks, man.